The key to a successful gold dredge is efficiency.
Been pretty rough this year.
3,000 ounces. We can't keep going like this because I'll never make it. We got to get the hopper down there. We got to get the screen decks, the sluice boxes. What'd you buy?
I'm excited. Let's go get it.
You won't believe this. Shawn Pomrenke just rebuilt an $800,000 dredge and struck the kind of gold nobody thought was reachable. On its very first night, he dug deeper than anyone ever has, hitting a rich clay layer that left even Dave speechless. And hey, if you enjoy seeing crazy gambles like this pay off, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss an update. That was just the beginning of what could be the biggest gamble of his life. The Myrtle Irene, once a rusted-out wreck, now ran like a war machine through the seafloor, dragging up thick pay dirt no other rig could touch. Tune in as Myrtle hits something so rich, even Dave nearly falls over at what's trapped in the sluice box. Built to dig, primed to run, Shawn Pomrenke didn't take a small step this time. He took a giant leap and threw nearly every dollar he could borrow into one massive gamble. After months of heavy lifting, sketchy deals, and fixing problems that just kept showing up, his monster dredge finally hit the water. The Myrtle Irene, now bulked up and rebuilt from the ground up, was ready for its first night shift. It wasn't some test run. This was the real thing, and it had to work. What happened next would either make him or break him for good. The machine wasn't cheap. It cost him nearly $800,000 just to get it back into fighting shape. That was on top of what he already owed for other projects. The Tom Cod lease still had nearly $1 million left to pay off. Add to that a $1.5 million handshake deal with his dad to buy out the family business. A simple 5-page contract, but a huge weight on his shoulders. But the Myrtle wasn't just rebuilt. It was transformed. Shawn dropped the wash plant down to make it easier for the excavator to dig. He added a second sluice box to make sure none of the fine gold slipped through the cracks. Every part of that dredge had been touched, tightened, and tested, from the pumps to the buckets. It was all built with one thing in mind: pull as much gold from the sea as humanly possible. First night out, they headed to one of Shawn's old hot spots, a place others had scratched, but never really dug deep. The Myrtle could go past 30 feet. That's where the real gold was, deeper than anyone else could reach. It was the kind of spot that could make a bad season look good in just a few days. They pulled up, lined everything up, and fired up the pumps. The crew stood by, waiting. The sound of diesel engines and rushing water filled the night. Shawn stayed sharp. No champagne, no high fives, just focus. That first scoop hit the bottom and came up full of chunky cobble. Not just any cobble, the kind that told you something better might be hiding just underneath. Minutes turned to hours. The machine kept digging. The night was cold, but the dredge was hot. As the bucket pulled up thick layers of clay, Shawn could hardly hold still. That was the layer he had dreamed of reaching. That heavy, sticky, gold-holding clay. Myrtle chewed through it like it was nothing. One scoop at a time, gold started showing up. Both sluice boxes ran steady. Water pushed pay dirt through thick mats. The crew didn't need anyone to tell them what was happening. They saw the signs, the way the water flowed, the sound of the gravel, the shine in the box. It was real. The Myrtle had never seen the ocean before this night. It had never been tested under pressure. Most builds like this, they fall apart fast, leaks, cracks, slipped belts, overheating. But not this one. Not yet. It ran smoothly. Pumps stayed clean. No clogs, no blown hoses, no shutdowns. Shawn moved fast. He watched every hose, every valve, every tray. He had been thinking about this build for months, losing sleep over it, sketching ideas on napkins, calling in favors. Every bolt had a story. Every line had been double-checked. It wasn't just a build, it was a mission. Around the middle of the shift, Dave took a look inside the top sluice. Loose gravel, light flow, clear mats, all good signs. Then he spotted it. Gold. Not a fluke. Maybe not. Real gold, caught right in the middle of the box. Not a lot, but enough to get excited. Enough to know the machine was doing its job. They kept digging. One full cut, no breaks, no backup. Just clean work. When they were done, they shifted the dredge forward and dropped back in. No dragging chains, no limp hoses, just power. Shawn couldn't stand still. He paced the deck, checked every connection, peeked into every chute. The Myrtle ran like a dream. This was real. It was the first time it had ever seen action, and it was eating through the seabed without breaking a sweat. That night, the whole setup ran for hours without a single problem. No leaks, no pressure drops, no panic, just digging. The sun started creeping back up, and the Myrtle was still moving, still pulling in dirt, still catching gold. Dave, who had been unsure about the whole thing, now looked like he was ready to put a ring on the sluice box. He stood by the gold tray like a proud dad. He had seen plenty of first nights before, none like this. That one cut showed them everything they needed to know. The sluice boxes were wide, deep, and built to trap every flake. Even with just a few specks visible, they knew what it meant. That was just the start. If the first run looked that good, they had a lot more waiting below the surface. The Myrtle had proven itself. One night shift, one full cut, and it did not fail. All that time in the shop, all those late-night calls, none of it was wasted. The next move was simple. Pull the spuds, shift position, drop back in, keep going. This wasn't luck, this was hard work, the kind most people don't see. Welding at 2 a.m., wrenching in the rain, sketching on the back of crates. Shawn had rebuilt the Myrtle into something dangerous, something strong, something fast, and it ran, on the first night, on the first dig, on the first full cut. Now the crew knew, the machine worked, the design worked, the dream was real. They were digging, they were catching gold, and they weren't going to stop. That night, deep under dark skies and pounding water, the Myrtle started something big. Shawn Pomrenke stood on the deck of his rebuilt dredge, water spraying, dirt flying, gold catching. One night in, and the machine was already doing what it was built to do: dig, catch, repeat. But a successful first night doesn't guarantee a smooth season, because Pomrenke's biggest gamble was still looming on the horizon. No loans, no lifelines, just gold. 2 miles off the coast, the pressure was rising. The season was shaping up to be massive, and Shaw wasn't just dipping his toes, he was knee-deep. This winter, he didn't just sit back and ride out the freeze. He made a move, a huge one. He picked up a gold claim that stretched across 1,000 acres. The name, Tom Cod. Price tag, over $1.5 million. And that kind of deal doesn't come with a grace period. There's a payment coming due, and fast. If it doesn't land on time, that ground goes right back to its last owner, ready to be resold. The plan to keep it is split 3 ways. First up, run the Christine Rose from dawn to dark, and through the night. No shortcuts. Just haul as much pay dirt out of the seabed as possible. The gold market is running hot, and there's no better time to cash in. The Tom Cod isn't just big, it's proven. And that's where the winter work shines. All season long, drill logs were collected. These logs point to something buried deep, a lost riverbed that cuts through the claim like a hidden highway. Packed inside, layers of chunky yellow metal. One drill hole punched out over 900 grams of the good stuff. That kind of reading turns heads. And if it tracks the way it looks, this stretch of ground could be one of the richest in the region. But there's a catch. The Christine Rose's arm only reaches 19 feet. That ancient riverbed, it's closer to 30, which means the only way to reach it is to find the dip, a spot where the riverbed rises just enough to fall into the dredge's range. Using beach markers and the old data, he's plotted a route. If the guess is right, the nozzle will touch pay dirt that hasn't been touched in who knows how long. The second part of the push is all about the inland mine, the one that's been run by the family for years. Now, the miner wants it all under his name. That means buying out the father and taking full control. No more shared decisions, no more waiting on anyone else's word. Just one operator running both sea and land. Owning the inland setup means steady gold, not as flashy but reliable, as the deep cuts offshore but stable, and right now, stability is gold too. The third move is bolder than the others. Sitting on shore near the edge of town is the Myrtle, a heavy-duty dredge with serious muscle. It's not running, just parked, but it belongs to Dave Young. For months now, the veteran miner's been driving past that rig, staring it down, thinking about what he could do with it. The vision is clear. Take over the dredge, make the fixes, run it hard, pull out more gold in 1 week than Christine Rose can manage in 3. On a good stretch, the Christine Rose might bring in $300,000 in gold. With the Myrtle tuned right, it could pull close to $1 million. That's the kind of leap that turns a risky season into a record-breaking one. The plan is to convince Dave to hand over the keys, at least in part. Let the veteran take charge, redesign it, rebuild what needs work, then go after the untouched ground with the biggest rig on the Bering Sea. Dave didn't slam the door. He asked for a plan, something real on paper. That leaves the door open just a crack. And for a man chasing down every ounce, a crack's enough to wedge a whole dream through. But nothing is free. Tom Cod still needs more payments. The inland mine won't buy itself. And the Myrtle, that's not even his yet. It's all tied together. If one piece falls, the rest wobble. That's why every move matters. Every bit of ground, every scoop, every hour. The gold has to come up fast, and it has to come up heavy. Back at the Tom Cod, the logs from the winter show a line that might be the old river's path. The miner tracked it across the claim, pinpointing the edge where it drops into the deeper part of the ground. He figures if he hits it at the start, near where the beach dips, it might line up just right with the dredge's reach. There's no margin for error. If it's too deep, that's time and money gone. Still, the signs are good. That 900-gram drill hole wasn't a fluke. Other holes came up strong too. Gold caught in every layer, heavier near the 30-foot mark. That's ancient river stuff. Not flakes, not dust. Real chunks. That's the dream. Out on the Christine Rose, the pressure is growing. The crew knows what's at stake. The machinery is running long shifts. Maintenance is tight. No breakdowns allowed. Every minute counts. Each load of gravel goes through the sluices with care. Any misstep and it's money lost. Back on land, the inland mine is quieter but steady. The focus there is bulk, not flash, but volume. Dump trucks run like clockwork. Wash plants rumble. The ground there isn't as deep, but it adds up. And when combined with offshore pay, it builds a safety net. That's if both parts run smoothly. If one falters, the pressure spills to the other. And the Myrtle? That's still on standby. Still parked. But the miner's working on the proposal. Not some rough sketch, real diagrams, mod plans, equipment lists, everything Dave might need to get on board. If that pitch lands, the season flips overnight. With the Myrtle, everything scales up. Bigger digs, deeper cuts, more gold, less waste. But first, the bills. The Tom Cod payment looms. Miss it, and that whole 1,000 acres goes up in smoke. Then there's the inland mine deal. That one's waiting too. And the Myrtle? Still just a maybe. With the Tom Cod payment coming due fast, Shawn's next move isn't just bold. It's all in, pushing every resource he's got toward one last play. 3 weeks to turn rust into gold. The captain had something big in mind. The Myrtle Irene sat dead in the water, worn down and almost forgotten. Most folks thought it was junk. But the captain wasn't like most folks. He dropped over $350,000 into the rebuild. All his own money. No loans, just belief, and a big risk. Meanwhile, his other rig, the Christine Rose, kept moving like a machine. Buckets dropped in, pulled up pay dirt, and the sluice caught gold steady. His second in command ran it smooth. The operation worked like a clock. But the captain didn't want just one solid boat. He wanted to own the whole shoreline. The Myrtle Irene had never worked right. The wash plant was too high. The operator couldn't see. The flow was off. Fine gold blew right through the sluice and back into the sea. The whole setup was sloppy. Fixing it wasn't just turning wrenches, it meant stripping it down to steel and building it back up. First thing, they lowered the wash plant. Now the operator could see where the dirt dropped. Next, they swapped the pump for something with real power. Then came the big fix, a second sluice spot. That meant better recovery. Even the fine flakes wouldn't get away. Everything had to line up. Water speed, angles, spread. One mistake, and the gold would still fly out the back. The boat was a mess. But the crew moved fast. The captain didn't have months. He had 3 weeks to get the Myrtle floating and working. That was the deal. His partner didn't want promises. He wanted results. The deadline was real. If they missed it, the whole season would be shot, and all that cash would be sunk. He brought the partner down to the boatyard, showed him around the Myrtle. No showy words, just walked him through the new build. From the cab of the excavator, you could now see straight into the wash plant. Dirt would go in, get blasted with water, and slide through the sluices. The flow system was cleaned up. It finally looked like it might do the job. Back in the day, that boat used to lose over half the gold it touched. 50 to 60% just washed away. Now, with the added sluice and better water control, that wasn't happening. The trays were showing color, the kind of yellow that mattered. It wasn't magic. It was adjustment, detail, and good hardware. The man didn't want just a boat that floated. He wanted something that could beat the Christine Rose. That was no easy task. The Christine was already the most efficient dredge out there, but he had built that one too. He knew what worked. Now he was aiming bigger. The Myrtle's bucket was massive, 5 times bigger than the one on the Christine. That meant it could scoop 5 times the dirt with every pass. More dirt, more gold. They wouldn't waste time digging small patches. They would hit the heavy sand straight in the bay, one scoop at a time, piling up pay. The pressure was heavy. Time ran fast. The boat needed to launch, or they would start losing real money. The captain didn't borrow this cash. He dug into his own pockets. If it failed, he felt every dollar. But the welders kept burning. The builders kept cutting, hoses, motors, frames. The Myrtle changed every day. It stopped looking like an old rig and started to look like something serious, something sharp. The system worked like this. Dirt from the seabed dropped in the hopper. Water blasted it apart. The flow pushed the lighter sand away, leaving behind the heavier gold. The first sluice caught the big pieces. The second sluice picked up the fine stuff. Every section had to do its job. Nothing was extra. It all had purpose. Numbers mattered. You had to know how much water to use. You had to control how fast the dirt moved. You needed the sluices at the right length, at the right angle, not too fast, not too slow. Just enough to let the gold fall and get trapped. Back on the Christine Rose, everything was dialed in already. The captain knew how much dirt came in with each bucket. He adjusted water flow by the second. The sluice was long enough to catch everything. The same rules had to apply to the Myrtle, just with a bigger system. The rebuild hit the mark. You could see the gold sticking in the mats before cleanups, showed nothing. Now they showed color. That was what the partner needed to see. Real proof, not talk. Every step had to line up. The frame was rebuilt, the pumps mounted firm, the sluices angled right, the lines cleaned out. The water pushed strong. The whole boat now looked like it belonged in the fight. The Myrtle had been a joke. Now it looked like a gold vacuum. That 5 times bigger bucket wasn't just for show. It could suck up the bay one load at a time. No more skipping past the heavy sand. Now they could dig anywhere. The man behind it all didn't take shortcuts. He had built before. He knew what worked. The Christine was his first monster. The Myrtle was about to be the second. Was the Myrtle smart, or just too much? Did it change the game, or waste time? Like the video, drop a comment, and subscribe for more real mining stories.